Hey, all right. Saturday, Labor Day weekend. Sitting here building diaphragms. Got tape drying, so I can't put them together just yet. So, perfect time to sit down and have a little chit chat. Virtual seminar. So, you want to call coyotes? You got a place, you got property. How do you start? Three things got to happen for you to call a coyote, kill it. Coyotes have to be there. They have to hear you. You got to pique their interest. Okay, if you are missing one of those three, okay, one of those three, you're not going to kill him. He has to be there, he has to hear you, and you have to pique his interest. So let's go back to he has to be there. Pick a piece of property. Here's what I do every time I pick up a new piece of property. I drive the edges of it, okay, the perimeter. I drive it. I look at it. First thing I'm watching for when I'm driving, if it's a dirt road, I'm looking for tracks in the road, in the ditches. I want to know where they're crossing that dirt road to get onto the property that I have permission to hunt. Okay. I make mental notes of those. If it's a big place, I draw a little map on a piece of paper in my truck. Everyone has a notebook. I keep a little notepad. But most of the time, mental note right here. I'm looking for tracks on the dirt road on the edges of the property. I want to know where they're crossing, where they're coming on and off at. Once I know that, I know my area on the outside of the property. Next visit that I go is going to be right at daylight, and I'm not going to call. I'm listening. I may take a call and howl and see what howls back. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take more mental notes, or I'm going to write it down on a piece of paper. Okay, early morning, right at daylight, I'm hearing coyotes howl. How many do I think I'm hearing? Where are they located on the property? Um, just by where they're sounding from. So I'm gonna make a mark on my paper or a mental note in my mind about where they are. Um, Next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go back in the evening time right before dark. I'm gonna go to a different section of the property. Let's say I was on the east side. And if I can drive to the west side, I'm going to the west side. I'm gonna listen and howl, and I'm gonna mark down where they howl back from. Now, what if they're in the general same area as they was in the morning time? Okay, this right here is valuable information in my mind. Okay, this is what helps me kill coyotes on places that I need to really know. So, in the morning time, let's say they howled almost dead center of the property, a little bit to the southeast. Evening time, they howl almost the same area. So they was there in the morning time, they was there in the evening. So they was there when the sun come up, they was there when the sun went down. Tells me that is the core home range. Okay? That in my mind, that is their core home range. They're there all day long. Okay? That is a good area that they like. So I mark that down. I know. I may wait a day or two. I'll go back and I listen again. And I'll listen for howls mornings. I'll listen for howls evenings. I'll make notes. I'll compare them to the last time I did it. Okay. Now I also wrote down, remember, or kept a mental note of the outside area, dirt roads, etc., fence crossings where I seen tracks. Are those tracks lining up in the direction I heard those howls? If they are, that's where I want to concentrate on my calling. I want to call them out of that particular area. So it tells me how I need to approach it. If my wind, I use my wind. I look for ways to slip in the fence lines, where I can try to get in so much, not so much undetected, but just somewhat quietly. I don't want to go through there, banging on gates, popping barbed wire. I want to be smart about it. So I want to have a quality approach to get to where I want to be. So new property, I looked for tracks. I looked for fence crossings. I listened in the morning. I listened in the evening. I have places marked down on my paper where I think they are going to be. So now I got to put a game plan together. My next trip is I'm going to try to get a little bit inside the property. I'm going to look around. I'm going to look for elevated spots I can set up. along fence lines that break up my silhouette while I'm sitting, placing my stand where I want to sit my butt to call. Um, I'm looking for if the wind's out of the east, if the wind's out of the west. Do I have a good vantage point for both? Is there a way a coyote can sneak into where I want him to be and be comfortable and put him within shotgun range? So I think of all this stuff whenever I'm looking at a new property, because when I go and make my first call, I want it to almost played out in my head everything that could happen and how the coyote's going to approach. Now, not every time you can do that, but that is my rule of thumb. That is how I want to approach a new property. I want to scout it. I want to have everything mentally in my mind of how that coyote's going to approach, and I try to make that happen when I blow that call the first time. I try to give them everything they need in order to get in there to me. So, we have coyotes. Can they hear me? Well, a lot of people, when I've done seminars and whatnot, they say, well, a coyote can hear 10 times better than you. Yeah, he's going to hear you. Really? He may not. So let's say you're going to a place, you got a real heavy wind, real hillies, canyons and whatnot. Wind's blowing really hard down one way. You got a hill in front of you. Your sound is more likely going to hit the wind and go with the wind. So there may be one just, on the lip of the hill trying to get a wind block, but your sound, let's say you're hand calling, your sound's blowing with the wind, and if you don't set up just right, then that coyote may not hear you just because of the wind and the way the terrain lies. So he needs to hear you. So always try to think, where will that coyote be when I start calling, and will he be able to hear me with the conditions that I'm hunting under that particular day? So we want him to hear us. So we have coyotes. We have our stand set up where we think the coyote's going to be, and we know our sound is going to reach that area, whether we're calling softly or whether we're blaring an e-call at max volume. We know sound's going that way. He's going to be able to hear us because of the way we set up. The wind ain't going to affect us. The terrain ain't going to affect us. He's going to hear it. Is he going to be interested? That's the next thing. So, had a guy ask me one time, well, how do you know? How you know a coyote's going to be interested? Well, here's the deal. You're going to trigger a coyote one of three ways. Food, that's his hunger, okay? Every coyote has to eat. They burn calories daily. They have to eat. They have to replenish that stuff. So, food. Breeding. When it's breeding season, boy, a coyote may not be hungry, but he's all about breeding. Or he may not want another coyote breeding his female, or she may not want another female breeding her male. Breeding, okay? Very important. It will trigger a coyote when food won't. Territory, okay? Get certain time of the year and they got, it's the denning season. Pups are on the ground. They're establishing breeding territories. They will protect their territory. They don't want anything else in there. So, food, breeding, and territory. That's how you're going to pique their interest. Okay? So you get in there, you've done your scouting. You know where they're going to be on that property. And let's go back to scouting, okay? Pull up new property, okay? Got some tracks. They don't look real fresh. Hey, get out there with your old boot and, man, kick those prints out of the way, okay? Soften up that dirt. Come back the next day and see if there's any new prints. Maybe the ground was too hard for them to leave a print, but by you running your foot or I used to carry a little whisk broom in my truck, and I'd get out there, and I even had a rake at one time, and I'd get out on that dirt road, man. I'd rake that dude like I was raking a baseball field. I'd get that dirt all up, fluffed up and ready, and I'd come back next day and see how many coyote tracks are in it. And it told me that I raked it at this time, I come back at this time, there's coyote tracks, so we have movement. Okay? So Let's say you howl in the morning times and you don't hear anything. No coyotes are howling, but you go back a day later in the evening time, right before dark, and you hear one howl. All right, so make a note of it. Go back the next morning and listen again. Okay, did that coyote hang on that property all night, or was he just passing through? You may realize on certain properties coyotes aren't there all the time, and they're just, it's just a travel corridor for them to get from point A to point B. So what you have to do is you got to kind of mentally prepare and mentally plan that, hey, when I was scouting this, I heard coyotes in the evenings, every, second or third day. So call in the evenings, you know, and then if you don't call nothing, don't go back, go back the next day or the day after. Call it. You try to put yourself there when the coyotes are there. That's what scouting's for. So let's say they only howl in the morning times, but they don't howl in the evening times. Well, maybe they're hunting at night in that general area. That's why you heard them in the morning times. Okay? Make morning stands there. Pick your stand locations to where everything's in your favor. The sun's to your back. You got a good wind. You got visibility. All right? Try to key off of them, in their natural daily process of what they're doing. So if they have a daily routine, try not to change it up too much on them. Call when you know they're coming through that area. So that's another reason scouting is really important, because it lets you know when the coyotes are in the area. I've got some new properties right now, and I have not figured them out. The first time I was there, coyotes howled, had good vocals. I've been back 3 times to listen. No vocals, no howls, nothing, no tracks. I walked the property, no tracks. So it tells me they may not be there all the time. This may be something they're making rounds on, or hey, someone may be calling it. I don't know, but I don't want to waste my time and go and call it, and it be wrong. Me thinking that they're here in this little area of the property, and I set up wrong, and then boom, I educated them. So I want to put everything in my favor. The first time I blow a call, I want everything in my favor for that coyote to end up in my wheelhouse for me to kill him. So just remember, coyotes, got to have them. Scout, know when they're there, know when they're not there, know the areas of the property they are concentrated on, the core area, what I call their core area of the property. Okay, know that area. Can they hear you? All right, pay attention to your elements, wind, weather, the terrain. Is it real thick, brushy? Is sound going to travel through it? Is it deep canyons? Pay attention on how that is. Set it up to where you think your sound is going to reach that coyote's ears. Okay? And third, trigger him. Trigger him off of food, breeding, territory. Okay, 3 things. And hey, believe it or not, they are going to trigger off of that stuff year round. Just because it's not January, February, March, they will answer some breeding stuff. They will answer some territory stuff. They will answer some food. When there's 100 million rabbits out there on the ground, they'll still, curiosity, pique their interest. You do those 3 things and you have a very good chance of calling in and killing a coyote. Guys, if you got any questions, PM me. I hope I didn't ramble too much and lost you. We'll go over some more in-depth stuff. I like to get the camera out here pretty soon. Yeah, I said camera, and not just my cell phone. I mean camera. Go out and show y'all some stands, how we make stands. Problem is, I got to find time to get out in the field. Man, no time here lately. So guys, I'm living through y'all. Go hunt, go kill something, post a picture so I can see it. I enjoy it. Guys, thanks, man. God bless.